I got you in mind. I got you in mind.
How's it going, everyone? Today we are going to run through a little project in the style of Meduza, little deep house action today, and all the presets from this in the project and the samples are going to be available to download below for free, so you guys can definitely check that out. And a lot of the presets are coming from my top 100 pack, top 100 serum bank, which you guys can also check out down below too. And when you guys check that out, really supports the channel and myself, so I really appreciate that. And for the walkthrough, I'm going to start with the intro, then the build up, and then the drop. So if you guys want to skip around to certain parts, I will leave some timestamps below just so it's easier for you. So diving into this, I'm going to mute the vocal pretty much for the entire production, just for the whole walkthrough, because it's not really important. It's definitely important for the actual song, but in this case I just want to walk through all the production stuff, and at the end I'm going to play the entire thing from start to finish so you guys can hear it then. But I'm going to mute this and we can take a listen to the intro.
There's a world only I see, only I see. Oh, I tried to face reality, but something is missing, something is missing.
And for the actual walkthrough, I'm not going to dive into the sound design too much. I'm mainly going to talk about the sound selection, so like what each sound is actually doing, rather than geeking out over all the presets. But I know some people would like that, but for right now, we're just going to talk about the sound selection. And starting off the entire song, I always start with some sort of chord progression or bass line, and it sounds like this. And if we take a look at this preset, it's just a couple saw waves filtered with some envelopes on that cutoff. So this is just really setting the vibe, giving us a little bit of movement there. And a lot of the sounds are pretty dark, so there's not a lot of high end. And most of the sounds here, if we take a listen, let me mute the vocals real quick. Yeah, they're muted. A lot of the sounds don't have that high end because we want that vocal to really shine through here. Because if we had, like for example, if this kick right here, if we took all the filtering off of it, you know, it's obviously overkill. So I like to keep a lot of the sounds, just all the high end just out of it, just for these types of songs, just so the vocals just pop out a lot. Then on top of that, I have this little atmospheric synth. And this really fills up a lot of the atmospheric space, and this is just a preset from Serum, and it's just a couple of sine waves, and I have the mirror and PWM on here. And the main thing is the LFO on the fine pitch, so you guys can hear it kind of goes, it's going down. And if I bypass this, if I bypass these, it's just going to be one. But to give it that analog feel, we add a little bit of noise. So the noise right here, add a little bit of that. We can activate these, and it just makes it a little variation. Then moving on from that, all we have here is just a little kick drum, a high pass kick drum, and just some vinyl noise too. You can barely hear it. So we're keeping this very minimal because we want the vocal to be the main thing here. You guys can also hear my favorite synth from Top 100 is the Diablo lead. This is just kind of playing along with the actual vocal, but I'm going to talk about this in the drop because it comes back there. It kind of has a little bit of an important role. And now moving on to the build-up, and the build-up is going to have a lot of tension. We're not going to have a lot of energy in the build-up because, after all, it's a deep house song. So the drop's not going to be some like big, you know, EDM festival song, but we just want to create some tension in a really efficient way. So let's take a quick listen.
Close my eyes, I've been lost inside. I will find you, swear I will find you. There's a dark blue sky, but I close my eyes, I will find you, swear I will find you.
And you know, for these builds, I feel like it's not for the best to have like big huge snares and like big claps. We still want to keep everything pretty minimal, but just create that tension with a lot of tonal stuff and just minimal drums. I recommend keeping the drums pretty minimal. And like for example here, I just have some simple snare roll and a clap and a little clock. For the instruments at least, it's pretty much the same exact thing. I introduced this little reverse Atmos. It acts as like a little transition, and it just adds a little bit of that tension and atmosphere we're looking for. Love it. And then that also comes back in the drop as well, because Meduza uses a lot of atmospheric things. But below that, we just keep the respace rolling. Got the same exact synth shot. And then everything below this is just helping with the tension. So we have a little string here. This is classic Meduza, even classic deep house, everything. It's just the root note of the song. So we're in G minor, and I played a string. Well, I didn't play it, but played a string in G minor. And the volume's rising too, so gradually it just kind of becomes more in your face, giving it more tension. Then it just stops, just like that. And then underneath that, got a little pad. Really analog feel, I love this. And you guys can see that a lot of the presets are Don Diablo style presets from Top 100. And that's because, you know, Don Diablo has that analog feel, and I feel like that's what Meduza really puts into their music. This is just a couple of saw waves with the LFO on the fine pitch, and that's just giving it a little bit of that old school feel, a little bit of noise on there too. That's all we're looking for here. Then underneath of that, a little guitar, just for atmosphere. And all I did for that was I played a muted G note on the guitar, panned it left, panned it right, got a really wide guitar, and then automated some drive. And then below that, just some simple effects, crash too. And one cool thing, which is kind of a Meduza classic, is this little stuttering white noise. And I did create this inside of Serum. I just feel like it's really weird seeing a like noise inside of like a synth, so I like rendering those out. But I did include the preset for you guys, and inside the preset, it's so simple. All it is just an LFO on the white noise in the noise section. So LFO 1 here is on the volume, and then from there, if we play it, it's just straight white noise, just like that. And then the final thing is just a little, I tried to be a little creative here. I took a guitar, the amp sound when you plug in a guitar that goes, took that, stretched it out, pitched it up, and then I did a little pitch automation too. And then you guys can also hear one final thing is the volume drop the last half bar. So it kind of goes, swells up, and then it goes, stops, and that's when the kick comes in. So moving on to the drops, and the drops can honestly be separated into two sections. So we have 1.1, I labeled it as, and we have 1.2. And here's what the entire drop sounds like, so you guys can take a little listen.
Where I will find you. I just know I wanna be with you. I wanna be free. So if I close my eyes, I got you in my mind. I wanna be with you. I wanna be free. So if I close my eyes, I got you in my mind. I got you in my mind.
And the biggest thing is the energy difference. And the energy is, as much as you'd like to think it might come from the synths, which it honestly can. It just varies song to song and genre to genre. But the main thing, the energy comes from the drums here. So you guys can hear the first and only drum that comes in here in the drop, just a kick drum. And then what we're doing to transition more energy is we're gradually bringing everything in. So I'm not going from this to this. Could that be a good thing? Absolutely, if you wanted to. But I think it's best to, and what they really do is they gradually bring things in. So we kind of introduce the clap here. And just gradually bring it in rather than just giving everything at once. But I'll come back to the drums in just a second. I want to talk about the drop synths. So the first one is this deep piece preset from Top 100. And I did modify the original preset just to make it fit little Meduza a little better. This is just a saw wave, 1 octave down, then FM freak wavetable. These are just giving it, you know, just opening up the filter a little bit, giving us a little bit of that deep low bass. And for the layering of the bass, I wanted to have that deep bass layer and then also have the classic Meduza bass stab, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. But first, that synth from before, that comes back. But in this case, it's 2 octaves lower actually. This one is 2 octaves higher, same note, G. Right there, it's kind of being in there for atmosphere, but here I just wanted it to blend in a little more with the basses. And then finally, here's that classic Meduza stab. And funny enough, this preset's actually from my Fresh Future bounce pack. And then I just like throwing it in there because I think it's a really cool sound. But Dirty Future preset, what gives it that sound is the +7 in the semitone. So if I knock this down to both 0, it's just playing whatever note we put it on. But if we go up 7, it plays the 5th. And if you guys aren't familiar with what a 5th is in a chord, it's basically, you know, if we open up a piano roll here, the 5th is going to be, so if we are on C, if we're on C, the 5th is going to be G. So on G here, the 5th is going to be, we can go up 7 notes. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 5th of G. And that just gives it a little bit of that chord feeling. And since it's in the preset, if we play C, it's going to play that 5th. So it's automatically in that preset. And there's actually some delay on here too, just to, you know, give it a little bit of wetness. Really had to process this one, but it sounds really a lot better with just the EQ and the reverb and delay. And then for that second half, that Diablo synth comes in, and it kind of plays along with the vocal. So in the actual vocal, there's a little stoppage here, a little empty space, and I figured I'd fill it with like a little counter melody with some sort of analog lead. It's kind of like talking back to the actual vocal, but this preset is so like analog-y. I just think it just fits the song really well. And the preset is honestly really simple. The main thing that we're getting the analog feel from is the LFOs. So LFO 1 and 3 are on the fine pitch, and this just gives us a little bit of that pitch variation, which makes it feel a little analog. And then LFO 2 is on the panning, so it's kind of auto panning to give it a little bit of left and right movement. And then all these effects are just making it really vibey. So if we take all of them off real quick, it just kind of sounds a little empty. But all of them back on, it just sounds a lot better. A lot more atmospheric. And like I was saying with the drums, we're just starting off with a kick drum and then we're gradually bringing everything in. So I like to kind of tease the claps a little bit, give a little clap effects here. So if we take a listen, got like a ta-ta-ta. Then I like to add this little like reverse clap reverb thing. Could be a little bit of overproducing, but I think it sounds cool. Then a little transition here. Then we go double kick, double cymbal on the transition. You guys can hear how wide these shakers are and how loud they are. They give us a lot of energy for the entire drop. And all these drums I created for some sort of Meduza pack. I didn't do anything with them, but all these drums are coming from that, and I'll give you guys the process drums as well, all the process samples. But you know, without the shaker loop, it just doesn't have a lot of energy. You guys can tell it just comes back when I put the shakers back in, just because it's adding a lot of that groove and just giving us a lot of feel for the song. And one more thing for the vocal is you guys can hear the formant go down a little bit. I like doing that just to spice it up a little bit, just for like a nice little transition. And then for the effects in the song, it's just a simple downlifter and some exhaust noise and sweeps. That's all it is. And that's it for this video. Hope you guys kind of took a couple things from here, just like in the arrangement, maybe for just like all the sound selection. Hope you guys took something from that. Be sure to download this project for free down below. Check out all my sounds and samples on my website, klingmusic.com. And with that said, that's it for this one, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.
Somewhere deep inside of me, there's a world only I see, only I see. Oh, I tried to face reality, but something is missing, something is missing. When I close my eyes, I get lost inside. I will find you, swear I will find you. There's a dark blue sky, but I close my eyes, I will find you, swear I will find you. I just know I wanna be with you, I wanna be free. So if I close my eyes, I got you in my mind. I wanna be with you, I wanna be free. So if I close my eyes, I got you in my mind. I got you in my mind.